All right, what's going on, guys? SteelTwins back at you with another video and our first mock draft of the NFL offseason. Some of you guys have been wanting a mock draft. You guys have been wondering, when's your first mock draft coming out? We're about to give it to you guys.
Yeah, here it is, man. We thought after the Super Bowl would be perfect timing because it gives us time to scout prospects and all that stuff and see what Colbert, who just got an extension, by the way, and Art Rooney and Mike Tomlin are looking at and thinking of. So let's just get right into it, man. Now, before we get into the actual mock, we have a few scenarios that could go down that will play part to the mock draft. So
Right, because obviously before the draft is obviously free agency, and everything that happens in free agency affects what the Steelers could very well do in the draft.
clearly, Steelers used the franchise tag on Bud Dupree, and they also resigned Javon Hargrave to a 3-year deal and signed Matt Fielder to a 2-year deal and moved Fielder to left guard. If you guys remember in the Rams game that we had last season, when Ramon Foster got out, I think it was injured or something. I can't remember what the injury was, but Ramon Foster wasn't active. We moved Fielder to left guard to, strengthen up the interior offensive line because, of course, Aaron Donald and everything. It's self-explanatory.
Right.
And we had Chuck Secor as the starting right tackle. And Fielder did pretty well at left guard. He was able to maintain and limit Aaron Donald and that defensive line of the Rams pretty nicely, and that strengthening up our interior defensive line and
Offensive line.
defensive line?
Yes.
Yeah, offensive line, excuse me.
Our defensive line's already fine.
Yeah, well, our defensive line is like magical.
Yeah.
And we're going to be getting to it back this offseason, which is the next season. So, holy shit. And like we said, we get Javon Hargrave back for 3 years. Now, how we do that is Steelers cut Mark Barron, please.
That needs to happen. He's god-awful. He sucks. He needs to go.
He's trash.
He is trash.
He is legit an older Terrell Edmonds, honestly.
Pretty much.
Steelers cut Mark Barron, Vance McDonald, Ramon Foster. I like Foster, but we got to get younger on our on our offensive line. So Ryan Switzer, and we like Switzer. We were high when we traded for him. He's a cool dude, but he sucks.
Exactly. Deontay Johnson already took his role, in special teams and as a slot receiver.
Right.
So Switzer's not needed at all.
No, and we can go get extra depth, which we will get into later.
Yeah.
And we also restructured Stephon Tuitt, David DeCastro, and Ben Roethlisberger's contracts, turning roughly at least $15 million total between the three and the signing bonuses.
Right.
Every year the Steelers usually convert some players' cap space in the signing bonus, which gives them more guaranteed money for the year, but also creates cap space for the Steelers to make some moves. Now, Tuitt, I like Tuitt. We all like Tuitt. We're excited to have him back.
Yeah, Tuitt's a hell of a player.
Yeah, he was looking to have a Pro Bowl year before he went out with injury, but
and that's the thing about Tuitt.
Exactly.
He's freaking injury prone.
Yeah.
Way too injury prone.
And I think that we gave him the contract too early, and I think we overpaid him. So restructure his contract and create some cap space off of that. David DeCastro deserves every penny because he's like our best offensive lineman, one of the best guards in NFL right now. But I would restructure his contract. I think he'd be willing to do what's best for the team and create some cap space, keep his defense intact. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly how Ben needs to feel. The same thing with DeCastro about him earning every single penny absolutely applies with Ben, especially after what we've been through this year. Or this past year with Rudolph and Hodges and our quarterback situation and everything. Ben, it just proves he's truly something special. He is a once-in-a-blue moon type guy. I mean, that's clearly obvious. But he is getting older and he is getting more fragile now. And last thing we need is for him to get hurt and take up a lot of cap space, a majority of the cap space, just for him to sit on the bench.
Exactly.
And, if I'm Ben... Now, I'm thinking, man, this is the best defense I've been around in a long-ass fucking time since I was, these guys' age. Washington's age, Juju's age, and Johnson's age.
Watt's age.
Right,
Zeke's age.
Yeah, 10 years ago, man. This is the best defense I've been around for 10 fucking years, man. We got to keep this shit intact. We got to keep this defense intact. And with me coming back healthy, with these young guys stepping up, man, we got one more run. So I got to do what's best for the team, create some cap space, keep this defense intact, and let's make a legit run.
Absolutely.
I'm hoping that's what Ben's thinking. I'm hoping he's not selfish and he's not greedy and he's, not taking too much cap. Now
he's willing to help the Steelers out.
Right.
Because right now we need all the money we can get.
Of course.
We're broke as fuck.
Of course, we're scratching the bottom barrel for fucking anything at this point, man. Now, I don't know if Art Rooney and Tomlin and Colbert are going to come to Ben directly to, restructure his contract, or if Ben's going to go to them. Either way, I think we need to restructure his contract, create some cap space, and all that. So, now with all that total, with us cutting Barron, McDonald, Foster, probably Switzer, and restructuring to it, DeCastro, and Ben's contracts, this should give us around, I'm going to say estimate of 20 to 25 million in cap space. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not good with cap space whatsoever, but that's just my estimate that I'm calculating in my head right now. So that should be enough to assign Hargrave to 3 years, Fielder to 2 years, and other needed players such as maybe B.J. Finney for depth on the offensive line, maybe Mike Hilton. He deserves a big contract. Although if we lose him, I wouldn't bat much of an eye because Cam Sutton is really stepping up, but possibly Mike Hilton. Nick Vannett, we traded a 5th rounder for him, so we could resign him to be the second stringer.
Right.
Maybe.
Or if we were to cut Vance, maybe he fills in his place as a starting tight end before we get into the actual mock.
Well, maybe. Nick Vannett is one of those guys that I don't necessarily see as a number 1. He's definitely a number 2.
But I think for right now, he'd be a contributive and dependable number 1 until we get into the mock.
Yeah, maybe. It all depends how you look at it, bro. But, yeah, all that stuff could play in the factor. So, we don't have to worry about Bud Dupree or replacing Bud Dupree, and we don't have to worry about replacing Javon Hargrave. Now, that's a complete, dream right there. That's what we want. That's what we're hoping for. And it's more likely not going to happen. That's what we're all hoping. We're hoping that we can keep Bud and keep Hargrave both together so we can focus on less needs in the draft and in free agency. Mm-hmm. Now, if that all comes, if what we just said comes to fruition, that's very possible. But who knows, man? Mike Tomlin has come out and said that Bud Dupree is a major priority. He hasn't necessarily said much about Hargrave, so Hargrave might be on his way out, unfortunately. So he's definitely gonna make Boku bucks with whatever team, man. Whether it's us or some other team that needs him, he's gonna make a big fucking contract, so could Dupree. But my thing with Dupree is that, I'm growing on Dupree. We're really growing on Dupree. He's had a great fucking year this year, man.
Yeah, still a year he stepped up big time, and he was definitely worth the money that we gave him on the 5th-year option.
But he's had only one good year out of 5 years.
Yeah, we need to see more consistency from Bud Dupree.
Yeah.
That was always Bud Dupree's major thing about him. He always had the talent and the potential. He was just never consistent.
Yeah.
This year, he stepped up big time, but he needs to be consistent for years to come if he wants to remain with the Steelers.
And that's why we give him the franchise tag, possibly force him to play on the franchise tag, which gives us time to see some consistency from Dupree. Who knows? Maybe Dupree just stepped up because it was a contract year and he's trying to make his money. And the fear is if we give him his money, he's going to go back to 5 sacks a year. We don't want that.
No.
So we force him to play on the franchise tag, let him prove his worth and see if he has some consistency with him. And right there. And the thing with, if we give him the franchise tag and sign him after next year, how are we going to get T.J. Watt in his contract? Well, T.J. Watt has the 5th-year option still playing. He's coming into his final year, his 4th year of his contract. But, of course, he was a first-round pick, so he gets a 5th-year option. We're clearly going to exercise that. Why the fuck wouldn't we? If we exercise Bud's 5th-year option, there's no doubt we're going to exercise Watt's 5th-year option.
Oh, yeah.
So we can sign, if he shows consistency, we can sign Dupree after the 2020 year, and then Watt will play the 5th year up until after the 2021 year, and then we could sign him to a long-term after that.
Yeah.
Now, with what? I don't know. Maybe the cap that Ben could return if he suddenly retires. If we win Super Bowl next year and he completely retires and hangs him up, we have a lot of free cap to extend extend Watt right there. So, I don't know. But that's my fantasy scenario right there. Let me know what you guys think down below, man.
And now into the actual mock draft.
Yes.
Now, with the 18th overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Minkah Fitzpatrick, defensive back out of Alabama. Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, thanks, Miami. Thanks a lot. By the way, 18th pick. What the fuck happened to the top 5 pick with the top 10 pick? 18th.
Right?
God damn, man.
I look back at those comments. Oh, he's nothing but a slot guy. My ass.
Oh, shit.
Miami, you have no idea what the hell you had in them. Thank you so much.
So much, bro. That first round pick is doing wonders for us right now, bro. Seriously, but let's get serious, okay?
Yeah.
With the second round pick, the 49th overall pick in the 2019, what the fuck? It's 2020. It's already February, and I'm still thinking I'm in 2019. With the 49th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Brycen Hopkins, tight end out of Purdue. We cut Vance. We're gonna need a number one. Hopkins is your guy. He is a number one. I think he's a day one starter. I think he's one of the better tight ends in this draft class. There's a lot of really good tight ends in this draft class. There's a lot of guys we like that we could draft in the second or third round, man. Thaddeus Moss, Brycen Hopkins, Adam Trotman, maybe Hunter Bryant, but he doesn't really possess the tools to be a Steelers tight end because, he's kind of lacking in height and he's not a great blocker. So
right, but of all the names that we said about, the one that could remain there with our 49th overall pick is Brycen Hopkins.
Absolutely.
And this guy is an absolute stud. He is a star in the making, and he would absolutely be perfect in the black and gold.
And especially for Ben, man. The security blanket, and he would open a lot of doors for this offense, man. We already have Juju and Washington and Johnson stepping up as receivers, man, for Ben. Now you add Brycen Hopkins, the security blanket for Ben that he hasn't had since Heath. And there you go, man. That's a lot of great young weapons to surround Ben, man, and I think it'd just be a great scenario for the offense to pretty much complete the offense, man, because like we said, it's the only thing we've been lacking for years is a true number one tight end. We had a few guys that we could have had, and Ladarius Green, but his injuries just fucked his career, and Vance McDonald, pretty much same for him. Plus, he's very inconsistent and just shows no care. So
and Jesse James never lived up to his potential.
Right. So Brycen Hopkins, right there, man, is your number one instantly, and he's really good. He's his hands are a little inconsistent. That's something that we can definitely work on. Same thing with his blocking. He's a very decent blocker. Again, something we can work on, but I think he's a very good run blocker. He got not perfect, very decent, but something we can definitely work on, which is the great thing. He has a lot of room for improvement. He's pretty athletic. He's not the most athletic, but he's pretty athletic. He's a guy you can flex into the slot, man, and exercise him there.
Yeah,
and
he's very versatile, and the Steelers love their versatile players.
Yes. So I think Hopkins would be a great fit in the black and gold, man. Perfect number one tight end for Ben, security blanket for Ben that he's been waiting. His height might be a little bit of a concern. He's not necessarily the tallest tight end, or he's not the typical skyscraper tight end that the Steelers draft and everything, but he's a guy that can go up there and get the ball and make plays, and his yards after catch is very nice. He's pretty physical too. So Brycen Hopkins right there, man, could be our number one tight end. And at 49, man, I think it'd be great.
Yeah, if he's right there, I say go for it.
Yeah, man. It all depends on who's on the board, but I think tight end is definitely our biggest thing on offense right now, and we go get our tight end with Brycen Hopkins.
Absolutely.
Let us know what you guys think down below, man.
Now with our third round pick, because I believe that we still are going to be getting a third round pick because Bell signed with the Jets.
Of course. Which has yet to be announced, but
right. But I as far as I'm concerned, I assume we're going to get our third round pick. So with our third round pick, Pittsburgh Steelers select Ben Bredesen. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He's a guard from Michigan.
Yeah. We cut Foster. And like we said, we signed Fielder to a 2-year extension, and we move him to left guard. But we need youth and we need depth at guard because, Fielder is... The reason why we say 2 years for Fielder is because he's going to be 28 very soon. He's going to be reaching 30. We don't necessarily know how consistent or how much Fielder's going to perform at a pretty good level. He's not a David DeCastro where he's going to perform at an elite level for years to come and everything up until his retirement. But Fielder is a solid guy that can come in and be a left guard or a right tackle. He's a very versatile offensive lineman that can come in, play any position, and perform very well. But he's not one of those guys that's going to play at a good standard for a very long time. And because of his age, that's going to lack that.
Right.
So we bring in Ben Bredesen from Michigan to add youth to the offensive line, depth as well, and then eventually prime him to take over Fielder's spot or maybe DeCastro's spot because he can play guard and right guard, man. But he's more so a left guard, so I think he'd be great depth behind Matt Fielder and everything. Maybe we resign B.J. Finney. He can be the backup center to Pouncey and everything. So there's your depth right there in the interior offensive line right there. So I think that'd be very nice to add some youth to the offensive line, keep it young because we're only getting older on the offensive line.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's That sucks.
Yeah, it does because we need our line to be young.
Yeah.
Our line's not getting any younger, obviously.
Right. And the good thing is that if Fielder goes down or if anything unfortunate happens, he can come in, and he's pretty solid already, and he's going to be great with room for improvement. So he can come in and be the youth guy to protect Ben or whoever steps in at quarterback when his time comes, Ben's time comes to hang him up, or Bredesen's time to step in as a starter. So,
right.
Yeah, man. So not only do we gain youth and depth at tight end, but as well as guard. And we continue that with our first fourth-round pick with Antonio Gandy Golden, wide receiver from Liberty. We get more depth at wide receiver. We get a little younger at wide receiver. And some of you guys may be saying we don't necessarily need to get younger at wide receiver because we're already so young at wide receiver. And I partially agree with you. I think that we could have some cap space with what we suggested at the beginning to potentially go out and get a veteran guy to help these young guys and everything.
Yeah, because our receivers are way too inexperienced. Like, I don't partially agree. I completely agree. Our receivers are completely inexperienced, and we need some veteran depth at the wide receiver position.
Yeah, because, you look at Juju. He's still our youngest receiver. Deontay Johnson's coming into his second year. Washington's coming into his third year. Deion Kane, who we might resign, is coming into, his second or third year. He's still a young guy. Could be a nice depth piece. And Antonio Gandy Golden, who is, of course, young and is, if we draft him, would come, of course, obviously into his rookie year. So we're going to need some veteran presence at wide receiver there. But I think we can still draft depth at wide receiver early on with one of our fourth-round picks, and we do with Antonio Gandy Golden. And now, there are a few concerns with him. His route tree is not,
the greatest.
No, it's he's pretty much known for only one route. But the great thing about that is that route works almost fucking 95% of the time because this guy is an instant mismatch with his height, with his tracking ability, with his hands, with his concentration, with his timing on those jump balls. He's already a pro at the jump ball, man. The dude is insane. Like I said, he's got great hands, mismatch with his height. He doesn't have a lot of speed, which could lack him and drop him there. But the thing is that Ben has been lacking and has been wanting a very tall receiver for a long time. And to add to that, he's been wanting a tall, deep threat of a receiver for a long time. And he had that in Martavis Bryant, but we unfortunately all know how that turned out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But Gandy Golden comes in and could be similar to that. He's got yards after catch ability. He's got some physicality there. Like I say, he's not the fastest. He's not necessarily that quick either, but he's a guy that can go out there and run a quick fade or go route. And Ben, all he has to do is toss it up, and with his height, he's a mismatch for most NFL corners. Or NFL defensive backs at that, and is a pro at those jump balls, those 50-50 balls, and great hands as well. So he can be that nice deep threat that the offense has been wanting for a while. So now he's obviously not going to be a day one starter, which is great for him because that's a lot of room for improvement for us to work on his speed, his route tree and everything and stuff like that. So that's the great thing about it. If we bring in a veteran experience, that's only going to, drop him down on the depth chart, which, again, is a blessing in disguise for him because he's got a lot of room for improvement, especially with the guys that we're going to have ahead of him. So
if he's there at the fourth round, we could snag him, develop him. And this guy's got some potential.
Yeah.
He really does.
Yeah. He can play outside and in the slot, man. He'd be a mismatch in the slot with his height and everything, with most slot guys and defensive backs. So.
And with his height, we don't really have a lot of tall, lengthy receivers. I mean, Juju's 6'1", but
I think Kane is 6'2". But
6'2", but again, we don't really have tall, very tall. When I think of tall, I think of 6'3", 6'4". This guy's got the size. And again, like you said, Ben loves those tall receivers. He's never had a tall receiver. The only one he really had that's notable is, again, Bryant and
Plaxico Burress early in his years.
Yeah, but unfortunately, those didn't really
last long.
Exactly.
Now, of course, this one's not going to last long because Ben might have 2-3 years in him. But
why not have a tall, lengthy receiver for Ben's final years that he can test and possibly even help groom?
Of course. Absolutely. So I think that's a lot of great positive to look at, man. And we go offense early with tight end, guard, and wide receiver, all young, depth at their respective positions.
And with the second fourth-round pick, we still go offense by going with LaMichael Pirine, running back from Florida.
We finally go running back. Now, there's a lot of Steelers fans out there that say we need to go running back. We need to replace James Conner because he is injury prone. And the thing with Conner, man, he can be a starter on any NFL team. You put him with any team in this league, he can be an instant fucking starter. But it's just his injuries that prevent that because
obviously,
with his story and everything, his Hodgkin's lymphoma, of course, he went through chemo, and that really has messed up his body and his health and everything like that. So, of course, he's more prone to be getting injured. And with him getting older, that's only going to make his body potentially a little more weak. So, and Connor's coming into the final year of his contract. Whether we resign him or not, man, he might not be with us long or any much longer in the black and gold. So, and we still like Benny Snell, but as of right now, he's just a power back. He's like one of those short yardage power backs, those goal line power backs that can get in, get the yards you need. But that's pretty much it right now. We like Benny Snell a lot, but that's all he's showing right now.
Yeah, he doesn't really have a lot of speed or a lot of, powerful run plays. But if he can work on that, that'd be great. That'd be fantastic.
Right. And, of course, Jalen Samuels, who is very versatile. One of the more versatile guys in the league. But he doesn't have the tools to be a starter.
Exactly. He's not really a splash play kind of player like we all thought. Like he kind of was in his rookie year, especially in that Patriots game. He didn't really live up to that.
No.
He really hasn't.
Now, he could in his third year, but as of right now, he's not showing it.
No.
He's just a nice number 2, versatile guy that can go in and, go out there, get those check downs, be the receiving back that you like to have.
Yeah, now I look back at last year, with all the injuries that we suffered at running back, it was his time for him to step up when we needed him the most, and he didn't really live up to it for the most part.
Right.
He really didn't, and that kind of disappointed me a lot because I was high on Samuels.
Right.
Now, I'm not really there anymore.
Yeah.
So maybe we draft a running back in the 4th round and LaMichael Pirine to possibly fight Samuels for a spot, or even Karif White, who could very well still stay with the team.
Yeah, totally.
So we got some competition there in the running back class.
Yeah, and the thing with Pirine is, of course, he's not going to start day one. He's going to be low on the depth chart. But again, same thing with Antonio Gandy-Golden. That's a blessing in disguise because that's a lot of room for improvement. That's a great guy we can develop. And those are some positions that we develop very well. Wide receiver especially, running back especially. So that's a good look on them, man. And he can come in and, of course, develop and climb his way up the depth chart and maybe show some shine maybe in training camp, maybe mini camp, maybe preseason. Who knows, man? LaMichael Pirine is one of those sleepers. I think it's because of his stats and his shaky offensive line that he's dropping, and that's because his shaky offensive line has kind of limited his production. Now, with our offensive line, like we went young offensive line early here, that could help him in his future potentially. And with our offensive line, it's getting older, but it's still very good. I think it's still very solid. I think it's definitely better than what we've had, in Ben's early years.
Oh, hell yeah.
So, you put him behind there, and he's a very explosive running back with some speed to him, with some physicality. He kind of reminds you of an old school Steelers running back where he's one of those power backs, you run down the field and hard-nosed football pretty much, man. You run down the field, run the clock out with a strong running back like Pirine, man. And
like when he can get past when he can get past the line of scrimmage and the offensive line, he'll do the rest.
Right.
And he showed that in Florida.
And he's got a little speed to him, which is very exciting because, that's kind of what you would like in a running back as well as, of course, speed. And he's kind of shown ability as a receiving back as well. So he's not only a strong, quick power back, but he's got some versatility to him as well, which, of course, is a massive bonus when you're going into the pros. So he's a guy we can develop, potentially groom for the number 1 spot. If we want to trust James Conner this year then to be our starter, then okay. But, drafting Pirine, we could use this 1 year, Connor's final year, to groom Pirine for the future. Who knows?
Yeah, who
knows?
knows?
If Benny Snell takes his second year and runs with it, kind of like we've seen with Bell and James Conner the past number of years, maybe that could give us a little more, confidence at the running back position. If we do stick with Conner for his final contract year, maybe Samuels steps up, and with Ben coming back, he's more so going to run the offense more than Fichtner, so that could help the rushing game and the offense overall. So who knows, man? But with all that, if we have too much faith in Conner and Snell and Samuels, this could be the year for Pirine to groom and potentially take that number 1 spot or battle for number 1 spot next year's training camp. in 2021.
Right.
So I don't know. You gotta look at the future there. He's not gonna be a day one starter, but again, we could groom him. So let's know what you guys think about that down below, man.
Yeah, with our first 4 picks, it's all offense, and quite frankly, I think that's what the Steelers need to do.
Which is ironic because the past number of years we've all been defense, 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 and now the defense is fine. Now we're like offense, 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 offense.
Exactly. Again, we said it countless times. We can't have it both ways.
No, we can't. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. But we do finally go off or defense here with our 6th round pick. Man, we have no 5th round pick because we traded that for Nick Vanette. So, a 6th round pick. We draft Jace Whitaker, cornerback out of Arizona. We get some cornerback depth.
I mean, Burns is on his way out, thank God.
Hopefully.
More than likely he is, because he doesn't want to stay in the Burns.
Right. And whether we sign Mike Hilton or not, we're still going to be lacking depth at corner. Because, okay, for example, let's say we sign Mike Hilton. We have, of course, Joe Hayden and Steven Nelson. Great number 1, number 2. Mike Hilton right there. Cam Sutton. Those are potentially 3 or 4 locks for the 53 next year. And Justin Lane, of course, number 5. Yeah. But outside of that, but Lane is being groomed for the future as well. So it's not like he's probably going to climb up the depth chart, but he's not going to see a lot of playing time outside of special teams. I mean, neither is Whitaker, but that's where we draft him for depth. We need cornerback depth.
Right.
So that's pretty much what this is. It's cornerback depth because we need cornerback depth with the guys we might lose, and whether that's Hilton and Burns or just Burns. So.
Right, but nonetheless, we need cornerback depth, and we need to keep our corners young. We need to.
Yeah.
Keep that defense intact and full of potential.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. In the 7th round pick to close out the mock draft, guys, we draft Tyler Clark, defensive tackle out of Georgia. Depth. Depth on the defensive line. We need depth. And Dan McCullers still pisses me off. I don't know why the hell he's still on the goddamn roster. So cut him and give Clark the backup spot.
I guess.
McCullers sucks. Okay, why is he still on the roster?
Because he knows the team.
Okay, and?
He's a good run stuffer, but he's not consistent. Tyler Clark, I feel like he could be, he could be slightly better. He's not going to really go out there and be great, obviously, but he could be a nice depth guy.
But I think we need a little bit younger depth on the defensive line because our defensive line is actually aging. We have Tyson Alualu coming into the last few years of his contract, and he's probably going to retire after that. Cam Hayward's getting up there with age. Stephon Tuitt, same thing with him. Javon Hargrave, whether we sign him or not, we still need depth at defensive tackle. So that's where Tyler Clark comes in.
And we need some youth on the defensive line position. Tyler Clark adds that.
Yeah.
In college, he's getting old, I think. I don't really care. He just get him out of here.
Yes, exactly. So a recap of the mock draft, guys. 1st round pick is Minkah Fitzpatrick. Thank you, Miami. 2nd round pick is Bryson Hopkins. 3rd round pick is Ben Bredesen. 4th round pick is Antonio Gandy Golden, excuse me. The 2nd, 4th round pick is LaMichael P. Ryan. 6th round pick is Jace Whitaker, and the 7th round pick is Tyler Clark. Let's know your guys' thoughts down below, man. That is our first official mock draft of the 2020 NFL offseason and everything. We'll be back with our 2nd mock draft next week. You guys can look forward to that. So let's know your guys' thoughts down below, man. And see you guys next one.
Like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you later.
Peace!